You know, when you get a brand that claims they have a story behind it and the watch has been inspired from this and that, and then when you look at the watch, you can clearly see that it has a few elements, but nothing to blow your mind away. Well, Valimor watches went to the other extreme, which is nothing bad by any means. They made sure that the Kilgharrah, the watch that we're going to look at today, isn't lacking any of those elements of inspiration at all. I mean, not a single area of the watch was spared, and they made sure that it contained some sort of dragon slash medieval inspired elements. For a bit of backstory, Valimor was founded in 2018 and their entire vibe is inspired by the owner's profound appreciation and passion for medieval arts, to put it in their own words. They had a Kickstarter campaign in 2018 which was fully funded, which allowed them to expand a bit more and get some more momentum into the watch world. Now, you'll find links down below if you want to check them out next to that like button. The Kilgharrah, the watch we're going to take a look at today, is limited to 50 pieces per color and heavily inspired by dragon's dorsal fins and dragon scale armor, just to name a couple of elements. The level of intricacy and detail in this watch is out of this world, but that level of detail doesn't come cheap, because depending on whatever strap option you go for, this can cost you between 410 euros and 500 euros, which might be a bit pricey if you're not into the whole medieval thing. So at a first glance, there is a lot to process here, but let's take a step back and take it one thing at a time. The dimensions on paper sound like it should appeal pretty much to all wrists, even to guys like me who are below average. Now, if you actually went there, congratulations, you're a pervert. And join the rest of us in the corner here. Now, on the wrist, this tells a completely different story. Let's talk dimensions. So we have a case diameter of 40 millimeters. We have a thickness of 15.1 millimeters with a domed sapphire crystal. We have a lug-to-lug of 47 millimeters, but if you count the male end links who stick out a little bit, you have 51.5 millimeters. And size up to my actually it is average, it's actually below average wrist, you have 156 grams, and my wrist is, for reference, 6.3 inches. Now, this is not picture perfect on my wrist, but it doesn't go unnoticed either. It certainly looks bigger than 40 millimeters, not just because of the thickness, but also because of the 22 millimeter lugs, and also at the fact that the bracelet only tapers to 20 millimeters. Now, if you twist this from the other perspective, I do think the bracelet is the right size because you have so much going on from a design angle. And even if everything was a bit smaller, I don't think it would look as good, and everything, all the elements that make it what it is, would make it a bit crowded. So if I was to round up the wearing experience, it wears big because it needs to be big, but it doesn't wear 42 big or 44 millimeters big. Confused? Now let me just clear it. It just has a tiny bit of bulk for a 40 millimeter watch. And also, let's not forget that dome crystal and the display case back, which we will touch up in a little while. They do add to the thickness. And speaking of bulk and thickness, let's take a look at the case. So we have 316L stainless steel construction with superb fine brushing on the side with some polished chamfered edges. Now, the finishing does absolutely align with the price. There is no doubt about it. I've seen much worse for much more money. There are no sharp angles or sharp edges or anything here. It doesn't catch on anything. It doesn't feel really weird on the wrist that it might poke me. Now, if we move on to the top of the case, we have 120 click unidirectional bezel with a black ceramic insert. And here, I love the fact that they use the whole medieval font for the numerals, just to keep the entire medieval thing going. Now on the bezel, the action could be better, but that is not the part that has my attention. It's the amount of play when this thing is in place. I usually don't care much about the grip or anything like that, but I would expect a bit more for a watch costing around $500. And also considering the fact that this is only 100-meter water resistant, this will never see water with that bezel. And I would like to take this as a diver because it has a diver bezel. So at the 12 o'clock, there is no pip or anything to make that, but I'll let that slide. And one super cool element that I think I saved as the best for last. At the 3, we have the push-pull crown, giving it the stated 100-meter water resistance, but it's not just another crown. No, it has a Swarovski crystal embedded in the crown. Why? Who the hell cares? I genuinely like that part. The watch has dragon scales and dorsal fins, and you're asking me about a Swarovski crystal? Now let's take a look at the thing that I believe costs the most amount of money, or was I call the money shot, which is the dial. Now this has so many things going on for it, I don't even know where to start. This is covered by the domed sapphire crystal that we were talking about. The font on the dial for the numerals is also the medieval font, just like on the bezel insert. Here we have proper sword style hands, and when I say proper, I actually mean proper, like miniature sword inspired hands, like the ones in medieval times. I really like the dragon scale texture of this dial. Very well made. This style variant is lighter in the middle and darker towards the edges, and no issues at all with the legibility. One thing that I haven't seen on any watches is both chaptering and also a rehaut. Now I'm not educated enough maybe to know this, but this is what we have here. So we have a minute track on the rehaut and a minute markers on the chaptering, with some more design patterns that, from what I could get, these are things that you can find on knights' armors during those times. Everything is pretty well executed, but apart from the visual aspect, which totally has an impact when you look at it, I don't see much functionality. Don't get me wrong, it doesn't always have to be, but I think that in this case it's just a bit over the top. And speaking of something that isn't over the top, which is a perfect segue, is the Lume. They claim it's Swiss Super Luminova on the hands and markers, and I feel that much more layers should have been applied here, considering the fact that in those days you only had candles when you want to go for a pee. The P-Lume for those night trips should have been better. And I'll just leave you with that. That's it. Just the Lume is not good. Now under the hood, we don't have a horse, as you may think. God, I really have to stop with these terrible jokes. We have a Miyota 8315, specs on the screens just as usual, with a decorated rotor. When I say decorated, I actually mean decorated. Dragon theme going on here, and I don't know if this is done by hand, but it absolutely looks cool. It's a cool touch, but this adds to the price, which personally I think I could do without. Now on these Miyotas, one thing that really caught me off guard was the fact that this is running at plus 1 second per day accuracy, which is way below any expected tolerances for the movement. I mean, this is ridiculous. Does that make up for the price to movement quality ratio? Not really. I would have wanted a better movement for the price, or actually a lower price for the movement. Let's move on. So in typical fashion here, last thing that we will tackle is the bracelet. It looks like it is a 5-link bracelet with the same kind of dragon scale pattern in consecutive links with push pins to adjust. The bracelet has great articulation, and I managed to get a good fit for my wrist, but the butterfly clasp fitted to this might be challenging for some. You might not get the same fitting and the same fit as I did. Something that I absolutely love about this is the chunky quick release spring bars for the very easy to take off bracelet. So this is perfect because you can literally take it out and put it back in without ruining your precious little nails, which I do sometimes with bracelets, and then I complain that the bracelets don't have quick release spring wires. But anyway, Valimor, in case you have an issue with that, Valimor will also sell you a rubber strap with the same design watch that totally fits the team. This is good quality out of the box, but if you're not feeling the kind of metal bracelet that for some might be over the top. And speaking of over the top, I think that this rubber strap is great out of the box, flexible, but I think it has, again, a bit too much of those gothic / medieval elements on it. So it's a bit too much for my liking because it adds a bit more bulk on the wrist. So let's draw the line here, guys, under all these dragon scales and armor. So if we take the theme out of the equation, spec wise this is decent, but if you just take those, I think it's a bit too pricey. I don't think it's fair to judge it like that, but at the same time, if dragons isn't your thing, then maybe that doesn't work. Now if dragons are your thing, Jesus Christ, you won't be short here. It is unique, of course, so if you look at it like that, it's well made and you can know that you have something that is very, very unique and very few people have. Now, and on that note, I hope you enjoyed my review, guys. That was it for me. Click a like, subscribe to the channel if you haven't so. Thank you very, very much for watching so far. I really appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.